give the oilam a day vacation, and then we start back to Pesachim on Motzei Shabbos. First of all, Motzei Shabbos. Any particular time? Should it be half hour after the Zman? Anybody have any votes?
I have Abu Subanim at like 7.
After 8:10. After 8:10. That's my vote.
I
Should it be
think
the regular
later.
time or should it be later?
I think later the better, because everybody can light. They can go to Avos Abanim, and then later when everybody's done, they go.
No, but the shaila is do people have Hanukkah parties? That's the shaila.
Are they wearing masks at these parties? That's the best shiloh.
That I'm not getting involved. I'm not getting involved whether they're gonna wear masks or not wearing masks. That's not my job.
It's all the same. I would later the better for me this week, if no one has an opinion.
All right, we'll put it out there for a vote.
Hey, later works for me.
All right, seems like later meaning like 9?
Yeah, I have Avos
Or
Abanim,
10.
so I'm saying anytime after 8 is good.
No,
but
not
9 is
10.
fine also.
8:39. That seems reasonable.
Is that what Doyle is saying? Naftali Landau, you going to be
I'd
on
say
if we do 8:39?
8:30.
I'll do. I'm after Avos Abanim. I'm good to go.
So then 8 o'clock is good for you then.
I
Rabbi
don't know.
Polko,
8
you have an
o'clock.
opinion?
That's a little pushing it.
I have to be a free agent on Shabbos. I don't know. I might do the daf, might be the share.
All right,
I'm non-committal.
Okay, we like that too.
So whatever anybody else wants.
We're a bunch
There
of
you
guys.
go.
We're all non-committal.
Okay, so I guess maybe we'll leave it for regular time, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock is regular.
Motzei Shabbos.
Shabbos it is.
Don't start, Lando.
8:30, whatever.
I remember
Leo,
what
let's
we
throw the
made
door.
this year. Okay.
It's been like 2 weeks since he started up.
Internet on.
True. It's true.
It's
Should we
good,
give
it's
him a
good.
few minutes to get it out of his system? Then we'll start.
No.
Yeah. Okay, we'll put it out.
Nobody
maybe
wants to hear
8:30,
me.
Maybe 8:30.
Just, it's also better when he bottles it up for a while.
I'll go for 8:30.
Listen, you know what? The later the better for me too, because I'm gonna get out of some form of Hanukkah party, so it'll be. Okay. Anyways, so yesterday was Daf Yud Ches, right? Right? Tonight is Yud Tes, right? So we're going to try and do.
I'm an Aleph.
Right. So we finished most of Yud Tes, so we have a head start actually. Right. So then we were discussing the types. Yesterday was the type of tumahs that meat of an animal that drank water from the Parah Aduma. And then Rabbi Yosi and Shimon, what they say with liquid, that it makes food tamei, but not utensils. And then we said liquid can't make utensils tamei from a vchomer, et cetera, et cetera. Fine. Now it's interesting. At tonight's daf, we did it already, but last night, so we said an interesting din, right? So we know that the whole tumah is rishon, sheni, shlishi, as things go along, right? So what do you do with flour and ketores and anything that's very crummy? Right, which interesting enough in the taruvas in kashrus, we look at that it's liquid. Happens to be in a gershon is not on yet. We happen to look at it like it's liquid. But the point is that if it goes by granule, so if you touch one granule of flour and then that granule touches another one, then that's it. Then the whole thing is tahor, right? The whole how can the whole pot become tamei, right? So we say no, the kli is mitzaref. Yeah, that's what we're saying. The entire kli combines. That's what we left off, right? And where we know it from we said kaf achas asaz rav malei ketores, right? That's where we left off. That's tomorrow's laning, by the way. That's Hanukkah laning. Every day laning of Hanukkah is kaf achas asaz rav malei ketores. So if anybody didn't need another one of those push that the Daf Yomi is always within Yonah D'Yoma, because of the kash from the oil. Well, this is tonight's daf. Well, it was literally today, so it's Erev Chanukah, so it doesn't fit exactly, but yeah, fine. Okay, so now we have some interesting cases. Tanan Hassan, we're 4 lines from the bottom. All right? Is that right? That's what we left off. Right, Tanan Hassan. Al-macha shenimtza b'basar shasakan v'yadayim tahoris v'basar tamei. Now, this case is just brought parenthetical because this is another case that has to do with tumah and tahor. Really has nothing to do with our Gemara. We started up with this whole thing, which we're going to get to tonight. The second Amud of tonight, Daf Chaf, is pretty much a chazara. Most of it is a chazara from what we've been learning. Right, but this case is just brought agav. Anyways, if you have an animal that they shechted, and then there's they find a needle, the animal swallowed a needle, right? So the din is that the saken v'yadayim tahor, the knife that cut up the meat, that touched the needle, and the hands that touched the needle are tahor, v'abasar tamei, and the basar is tamei. That's if it's found in the basar. Nimtzeis beferesh hakol tahor. If it's found in the waste that's inside the animal, then everything is going to be tahor, which the Gemara is going to discuss exactly why that is. But again, a guy cuts up an animal, right, and he finds a needle in the animal, right? So the assumption is that the needle is tamei, which we're also going to discuss in the Gemara. Where do we get that it's tamei? But either way, if it's tamei, the knife and the hands that touched it are tahor, and the basar is tamei. But if it's found in the waste, then everything is tahor. Yes, thank you. So R Akiva, Zachinu, she'ein tumas yadayim b'mikdash. Baruch Hashem, he's saying Zachinu that they never made the gezeira of yadayim b'mikdash. And again, yadayim is the reason why we wash natilas yadayim for bread, is because hands are considered shniyos. They made a gezeira that a hand is considered a sheni l'tumah, right? So R Akiva is saying, you see in this Gemara was saying that this needle does not make the hands tamei. So he's saying Baruch Hashem that there's no tumah in the mikdash. Of tumas yadayim in the mikdash, because again we said any time the Rabanan make a gezeira of tumah, it doesn't apply in the Beis HaMikdash. So that's why he's assuming the hands don't become tamei. So the Gemara says, "V'nei she'ein tumas yadayim v'kelim b'mikdash." Why didn't he say that there's no tumas yadayim and kelim? Because we said the knife doesn't become tamei either. So Amarabi, Rav yosi. But Rav Chanina yadayim kaidim gezeiras kelim nishnu. No, remember the Yud Ches gezeira way back in the beginning of Shabbos. So there were 18 gezeiras. So he's saying that the yadayim came before the gezeiras kelim. So he was only talking about yadayim. This is before they had kelim. So Amarava about Tarvaya Baby Yom Gazu. What do you mean? They were done on the same day. The Tanan Sapar. A sefer. A sefer. We said that svarim, not svarim that we have, but parchment. V'hayadayim and hands. V'atful yom. Somebody who toivel and needs to wait out the day. V'aichlin and food. V'kelim shenitmu b'mashkin. And kelim that became tamei mashkin, those are all made in one gezeira. So you see that hands and kelim are the same gezeira. So neither one was done before the other. Okay, so now we're back to our question. So why is it that the knife didn't become tamei? So Elo Marava Hanachul Tumas Sakin leaves the Tumas Sakin alone. The filo b'chulin nami le'metame. Not only in the Beis HaMikdash will the knife not become tamei, even if somebody stam cuts up his animal and he finds a needle in there, it's not going to make the knife tamei. Why? Because high sakin the naga b'mai. What does this knife touch? What did it touch to make it tamei? Ilam the naga b'basa. If he said that it touched the meat, ha'ein oichel matama kli, like we learned yesterday, food cannot be matama kli. Ve'ela the naga b'machat. It's only talking about where it touched the needle. Ha'ein kli matama kli. We know that a kli can't be matama kli. So then, so that's what they're saying. So that's why the kelim. So again, yadayim are not tamei because in the Beis HaMikdash yadayim don't become tamei, and the kelim don't become tamei because ein kli matama kli. Gershom just walked in person. I need to find him a Gemara.
Okay, go. I'll figure it out.
The shot. No, that's Sanhedrin. There's the shas on the check up there. No,
Gershon will write over the blot. It's not a big deal.
He'll write it over from memory. That's true, Tucker. Yeah.
Yaakov, hold on. If he walked in, how am I going to mute him there? Give me a minute. I'll be over soon.
Parrots.
Why do you think I'm here?
Parrots. If you know, I always have a fist. You know what I mean?
Nah, you don't use it. That's the problem.
He sits too far away because of the distancing. Yeah, we got to get Naftali Liner over here. He's got long enough arms.
You wouldn't get a word in edgewise.
You want me to drive over now?
That's okay. Okay. Anyway, okay. So hi machat maya vidite. What's the deal with the needle? Right? What's maya vidite? Meaning, how's the needle making the basar tamei? You name a suffix machat. If you say that it's because it's a suffix on the needle, meaning we don't know if it's tamei or not. Meaning we don't. Nobody knows where this needle. They found a needle in the meat, right? So where's the needle coming from? Right? So it's okay, it's a suffix tumah. At the minimum, it's a suffix tumah. How do we know it's not tamei? Well,
It doesn't make it a moment you're not a shechter.
Oh, I was hoping nobody would ask that. I was thinking about getting involved in that. If it made a hole in the stomach, then it would make it into a balmum, but a treifa.
I mean, in the shoulder wouldn't be.
No, I don't think so. I'm no bucky in hilchos treifas, but yeah, it's in the stomach. There's a small shas in there in the office, maybe. Yeah. So
is it a valid kasha or it's not?
It is a valid question, but it really only has to be a hole in the stomach.
Right. Okay.
Yaakov, there should be a Gemara on the piano.
What?
There should be a Gemara on the piano.
Pesachim? I thought that was Erevin.
Pesachim.
I don't know. I don't see it. Okay. I'll tell him. What do you call it? There is a thing that you're saying, but I don't want to get sidetracked. Part of the things that they do to cows, a lot of people have tinus that milk nowadays is treif because 5 to 9% of cows get a needle through the stomach because they have gas in the stomach. So what they do in order to help it out is they poke a hole through the stomachs. So that really makes it into a treifa. So, but that's not why. No, Rav Hirschach has a different chum. They said on the piano.
He says he has a famous truth.
He has. Rav Shechter doesn't eat it even before this, even without this. But no, there's a lot of Rabbanim that hold that it's a treifa. The OU has a tshuva. Rabbi Belsky has a whole tshuva why it's not a treifa, but it has to do with a needle going through. But my assumption is they take that needle back out of the animal, right? It's not found in the animal. Okay, but either way, maybe that should be after the daf's over if anybody wants to discuss that. But I can't imagine after tonight's daf anybody's going to want to stay on. But anyways, so with the shilas, what's this machat? So it's a suffix tamei. They didn't make a gezeira on any saliva that it's yerushalyim. And they didn't make a suffix. They didn't make a gezeira on a suffix kalim in yerushalyim either. Right. So there's no suffix kalim that are found in yerushalyim are not a problem. And suffix saliva. So this is a suffix of a utensil that's found in yerushalyim, so it shouldn't become tamei. Some Rabbi Yehuda Marav No, somebody knew that a needle touched a dead body, and then he was cutting up the cow, and then he found the needle. So it wasn't a suffix. He knew for sure it was a touch. The guy was looking for his needle. He used the needle to sew tachrichin onto the mace. So he knows that it touched the mace, and then he couldn't find his needle anymore. He shechted his animal. He found it inside the cow. So it was a vaday tumah. That's one shot. It was an animal. It was a cow that was chasuma. How do you say muzzled? It was muzzled from outside Yerushalayim. And since it was muzzled from outside Yerushalayim, so now it must have had this needle from before Yerushalayim. And suffix tumah outside Yerushalayim is tamei. So that's why those are the two things that the machat is vaday tamei. Fine. Gufa. One said that they didn't make a gezeira on saliva found in Yerushalayim, and one said they didn't make a gezeira on kalim. You see where we are? Halfway down Utensils base. Yeah? If I go 2 dots, Gufa. Yeah? So Roikin Tanina, Kalim Tanina, but we already learned this. We already learned about saliva, and we already learned about Kalim. Roikin Tanina, the Tanan Kala, Roikin Hainu Tam Yerushalayim, Tahorin, Chutz Mishal Shuka Elia. Right? We learned that all saliva that's found in Yerushalayim is tahor except for the saliva that's found in the upper shuk. Why? Because the zavim would hang out in the upper shuk. Any place else in Yerushalayim, we're assuming a zav didn't roam around. So we already learned this. So why did Amirayim need to say the same thing? So even though we know that a zav walked down this street, we still assume that the saliva came from somebody who's tahor, not from a zav. So that's what they're coming to teach you. Kalim Tanina. Kalim, we also learned in the Brisa, the Tanan Kala Kalim and the Tamei Yerushalayim, Derech Yividu Lebeis HaTfilah Tamein. Hada Alma Tahirin. all the kalim that were found in Yerushalyim, if they were found in the road that heads down to the mikvah, to the Beis HaTfilah, then they're tamei, obviously, because we assume that they fell from when on the way down, right? I just lost the place. Really, Beis HaTfilah tamei hada alma tahor, but stamazoi that they're going to be tahor tamei, and according to you, ema seifa. Meaning, obviously, the way they must have had a one-way street headed to the mikvah and a one-way street out, right? They couldn't have headed in the same way and out the same way, correct?
So Yaakov, there's a
Right? Otherwise,
mikvah,
how? Yeah.
there's a mikvah that someplace near the Kaisel. They have they had a staircase, two staircases next to each other in the mikvah. One to go down to the mikvah, one to come up. Yeah, I saw it like 3-4 years ago. I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. That's mamish this Gemara. I don't know how come the mikvayos haven't figured that out by us. You know, on Erev Yom Kippur, Erev Rosh Hashanah, make one steps in and one steps out. Or Taka would move. Right? I think it would move everything along, right?
They do by the way.
It takes away from the whole experience. It's not. It wouldn't be the same.
You're right about that, but it's true.
By the real big mikvahs, they do. By like the Hasidic mikvahs, where they have giant men's mikvahs, they have like that.
Is that so?
Yeah, they have it.
Leave it to the Hasidim to figure it out. Yeah. Anyways, okay, so
that would be only by the conservative Jews. The Hasidim have one stairway. It's not.
Yeah. Anyway, so
someone's going to go in the wrong way and they'll lose $2.
Okay. Anyway, so that's what it says by Kalim. So then the one says l'tamei ema seifa. But what about the seifa? Derech aliyah tahorin. If you find the Kalim on the steps that go out of the mikvah, it's tar. Hada alma tamei. It's mashma that it's tam in the rest of yerushalyim. It's tamei. So we have a stira in what's mashma from the reisha to the seifa. El reisha dafka, the seifa lav dafka. So it must be that the reisha is dafka. It's specifically in that area, and seifa is lav dafka. Okay, then so what's it coming to exclude? Ulafuke gezeira. So it's coming to exclude the little alleyways that are off the road to the mikveh, where there, if you find the kli in there, then it's going to be tamei. Right?
Doesn't the Gemara? Why don't we say that either way it's not a riot? Doesn't the Gemara many times do that when you can be medayik stomach either way?
Offsetting.
Right, they're offsetting. Mechatesi that the Gemara says one way is dafka.
Yeah. I hear it. I don't know why it's just not saying okay, and that's what they're coming to teach.
Correct. The Gemara does it all the time. I've never seen it where the Gemara goes one way.
Right. I hear it saying dafka and lav dafka.
Correct.
Which is also chiddush, because which one should you say is dafka and which one should you say is lav dafka?
That's why the Gemara never settles for that.
Right. Okay, here it's not really a kasha though. Here we're just trying to say that it was already taught. So we're trying to just show that the Amoraim are coming to teach you another chiddush. They're trying to add on to it. So they're saying that this whole thing doesn't apply to an alleyway that's next to the thing. I hear you are. Okay, fine. So Rav, who answered before that, how do you get this? What's the case of this needle? You recognize the needle and you knew it was tamei meis and you found it in there. So remember we said a couple of blot ago that metal has a special din, that metal becomes whatever it is that touched it. So if an avatuma touches metal, that metal stays an avatuma. So if it's an avatuma, why can't it be matama, the kalim and the person that touched it, right? We're saying that the guy that found the needle is tahor and the knife is tahor. Only the meat is tamei. But if it's an avatuma, because it's metal and it touched an avatuma, so then it should be the adam and kalim nami litamei. So Ravashi says as azara reshus harabim, the azara of the Beis HaMikdash, meaning the courtyard area of the Beis HaMikdash, was a reshus harabim. V'havalei safek tumah reshus harabim, and memela it's a safek tumah reshus harabim. V'chol safek tumah. Right, meaning why is it a suffix though? Until now we're assuming it's a vada. The pshat is because we don't know if the guy touched the needle. We found it in the meat. We don't know if anybody actually touched it. Right? V'chol suffix tumah reshus harabim sveikei tar. Suffix tumah reshus harabim. It's a big rule that comes up a lot, not in these areas, but in tumah and tara. Any suffix tumah that's in reshus harabim is the suffix is tar.
What is the right people that are walking around? Tamei or Torah?
Rife people, don't we say in yerushalyim that tar? If what rife people are tar or tamei? In yerushalyim, we consider tahor. Tahor.
And outside?
Outside, I don't know. Outside, l'chayra tamei.
So then why would it be tahor?
No, because we know Suffolk tumah rishus harabim is tahor.
I'm sorry if this is a stupid question. What's the chiluk yerushalyim?
Well, because people that come up to yerushalyim are usually tahor. Right?
I mean, why
that's the assumption.
Why is called something tahor, called something tumah, but it's just around fake tahor? If you go right, there should be tamei.
Yeah, I know, but it's not in yerushalyim. It's definitely not.
Wait, that's the chiddush.
That's the din. That's not a din. We learned that out of a pasuk. I thought that Suffolk tumah b'rishus harabim is tahor.
Yeah, we learn that from Saita. We learn that from Saita.
We don't go bust it, right? It's a din. It's a din. It's a stama din from a. It's a pasuk.
I'm going to ask you, why would Rive change it?
Rive doesn't change it.
Tumah doesn't.
Suffolk tumah b'rishus harabim is a din deraisa from pasuk.
Any suffix is rishus harabim would make.
Right? Why do they call it Suffolk tumah?
Where here?
Why the Lashon? Yeah, why is it Lashon tumah? As opposed it's Suffolk whatever rishus harabim is tar. I mean, they're saying Suffolk tumah. You're already going negative that it's. You know what I'm saying?
Because you had a shaila.
No, the shaila is on the tumah. The shaila is on the tumah.
Is a shaila.
But it's rishus harabim, so it's not even a suffix. It doesn't matter.
Well, it is a suffix, but we're saying that it's not.
No, it's irrelevant that it's a suffix because it's rishus harabim.
Well, Yuri, you don't know. Maybe it's a vada. You don't know what happened. You have to tell the Rav what happened with the claim. What was your situation? He'll say, "Oh, that's a suffix," and then you're tar. But you have to tell somebody with the.
Why can't we say it's suffix tahor and ask the Rav the situation?
Why can't
you have a suffix tahor? That means you were tamei originally, and now you have a suffix.
Hold on. You can have a suffix tamei, but you can't have a suffix tahor?
Yes, because you're taking away the chazaka rishayna, which was tahor. It's a suffix whether tumah it played in now. It's not a suffix on whether you're a tar. Before you have a chazaka, you're tar till the moment when you create a suffix whether you're tamei or not. It's a suffix tumah. Suffix if the tumah came into the parsha of this person. It's not a suffix if you're tar or not.
So if you have a suffix, Roy's going to dictate.
No, not.
No, but you don't even need to come on to that. And then rishus harabim, you don't have to come on to that.
Rishus harabim, it's tar. You don't need.
We're gonna see more of it later. Let's see what we're gonna get.
Yaakov, Rashi doesn't learn it's a suffix on the mechad. Rashi learns it's a suffix whether they touch the mechad or not.
Correct, right. The suffix here is whether they touch the metal. The metal is a vadai tamei because we said it's going according to Rav, who recognized the metal that it was tamei mace, and now he recognizes it in the stomach. Right.
Right.
It's like those guys that used to smuggle in drugs. They swallowed it, you know what I mean? And you catch them, right? They give them an X-ray. They catch him. Hey, I recognize that tumor right there in the guy's stomach, right? It's just something like that. Anyway, so let's see weiter.
This Gemara seems to be that the Azara was rishus harabim.
That's right. I was saying that the Azara, like the base of Mikdash, is rishus harabim. That's a shtickle. I mean, even though it's accessed by public.
So what's the chiddush?
It's an interesting thing, yeah. I mean, we look at a shul also that it's a rishus. I mean, it's not I don't know. I think so.
It's not a rishus harabim, but we view it.
I think that's why I understand it, but I didn't look into it too much. But that's what
rishus harabim is that it means 600,000 per day.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, it doesn't mean 600,000. No.
I don't think that's a pshat. I don't think that's the pshat.
It means rishus harabim means a lot of people walk by. No.
Yeah.
No, that's not a rishus harabim.
No, I know that's not what rishus harabim, but that's.
The whole thing, no? That's what Rashi say.
Yaakov, where are we holding?
We are 6 lines up from the bottom of Utensils base. Okay, let's see weiter. So Hav Rishus HaYachid. It's mashma that if this thing would have been Rishus HaYachid, Sveika tamei, then the suffix is tamei, right? I mean, the only reason why we're being matter this, the person and the kalim, is because this is happening in Rishus harabim. But if it was Rishus HaYachid, the suffix would be tamei. Who michti hay macha davar shein by das lishol who. This needle doesn't have any das to ask. I wish there were a lot more people that didn't have das to ask, right? But okay, but I'm sorry, on Hanukkah I shouldn't talk like that. Okay, but yeah,
not on the shear,
right? No, I wasn't talking about the shear. I wasn't referring to the shear. Okay, okay. Anyways, so hay macha davar shein by das lishol who. It's not anything that has das to ask. V'chol davar shein by das lishol. Bein Rishus Haram, Bein Rishus Yachid, Sveika tahor. Then even in Rishus Hayachid, the suffix is tahor. Meaning, if somebody is a suffix of their tamei and they have the ability to ask, so then we say that's a suffix in Rishus Hayachid will be tamei. But this thing can't ask. It can't ask for itself. So therefore, it's going to be suffix tahor. So
every single and sherets and all and pieces of meat that come from a chanos, they have a das lishol.
That's talking about there. That's not al tumah and tara.
I'm just saying, and let's say it would be a shiloh of tumah tahara. The Gemara it's only by tumah and tahara we say this.
That's what it seems, as far as I know. That's from this Gemara, yeah. But I'm not educated enough on all these things to know for sure. But I hope so, because otherwise I don't have pshat.
You just say that the machad is a vade.
It is, but it's a suffix. No, but it's a suffix if they touched it.
So what if the machad can't ask? It's there.
What?
The suffix is in them, not in the machad.
No, but the child is the macha touch it. Yeah, well, we're going to see. That's really the Gemara's teretz. Let's see the Gemara's teretz. Suffix tumah hababi de adam. Right, it's a suffix tumah. I don't know if that's what you mean, but l'chor, that's what you're saying. Suffix tumah hababi de adam. It's a suffix tumah that came from a person. And suffix tumah hababi de adam. Right, a suffix person. Right, because a person was Isaac in it. Right, as Rashi says. Yeah, l'chor, you're right. 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 So it's a suffix. Well, how did the whole suffix come about? Through a person. Right, so I want to Chaf Amud Aleph. Nishalan alav, right? Afilu b'kli hamunach agabi karka gedavar sheyesh b'das lishol. We ask a shaila on it, with a kli that's put on the karka, like gedavar sheyesh b'das lishol, like something that has a das to be asked. So therefore, since a person was involved and the person could ask, so therefore we look at this thing like it could ask. And therefore, suffix tamei and rishus hayachid is going to be tamei. Suffix tamei and rishus haram, which a base of mikdash is, then it's tar. So now the Gemara is going to. What?
If we have a suffix if the sherets touch the machad, that would be.
Well, that would be one case.
Would be non-existent.
Yeah. So v'abasa tamei, but the meat's tamei. Hi. So now the thing is, right? What do we say? In order for food to become tamei, it needs to have liquid on it, right? V'abasa tamei. Hi basa dischasher b'mai. This basar that becomes kosher became kosher, meaning it has to have liquid on it. Where was the liquid, right? You're cutting up the meat. You're cutting up the animal right then and there. How did liquid get onto the meat? If you're going to say kosher bedam, so everybody should hopefully remember the kasha that would be. How do you know that the blood of kodshim does not make food kosher to be mekabel tumah? Right, you don't eat it. It's on. You pour it out like water. Only blood that gets poured like water is masher, and that's not nishvah kamayim, not masher. And since in the base of mikdash, you're supposed to catch the blood to sprinkle it on the mizbeach, so that doesn't spill. So it's not like water. So the blood of the animal cannot make this meat kosher. So then, no, maybe it became kosher with the liquids, right? The water that's from the area of the shechita. Not only is it that it's not tamei, and it doesn't even make anything kosher, so it can't be from the area of the shechita. A different concept. Why does food need water to make it kosher, to be mekabel tumah? Because that makes it chashivas. Once you wash it, then it's ready to be eaten. Right? So here we're saying, since kodshim has a chashivas to it alone, just by itself, so therefore the chashivas, the chiba, the love that you have for the kodesh makes it already kosher to become a mekabel tumah, even if there's no liquid.
So Yaakov, wasn't there an Amos and Mayim going through the whole Azara?
Yeah, to drain everything out.
So water came from there. Big deal. What's the big deal?
Yeah, but I guess the Gemara is assuming that how did it get into this meat? How did it get into this piece of meat?
You can have 50 the flying dead sherets that flew over the wall, that landed on the cow, first landed in the water, then bounced out and went on. I mean, they have 100 cases of crazy cases. So there's water right there.
So, okay, so it's interesting. That's
I thought it's not ein machshirin. Beis Mendechai is not ein machshirin, I thought.
Well, but I don't know if that's considered Beis Mendechai.
What is considered Beis Mendechai then?
That's any liquids that are around the north side of the mizbeach where they do all the shechita.
So 1 second, but where would it have hit otherwise when they shechted it?
I don't know.
I'm saying they shechted it in the slaughtering place, right? So where else would it be machshir?
Maybe it was Erev Pesach and they shechted all over the place. They didn't just shecht in the slaughtering place.
I'm saying, but we're saying this is a
They
stomach.
shechted every spot in the Mikdash.
Right. No, okay, well, the Gemara ends up with a teretz, sort of like what you're saying, Rabanan. So let's see. It got kosher with chibas hakodesh. Emer dohani lechibas hakodesh ifsule begufe lemimne be rishon v'sheni nami. So when did we say that it becomes puzzle? When did we say that chibas hakodesh causes tumah? That's to make it kosher to be tumah, but that it should become a rishon and a sheni to be matama other things that it's going to do, that it has the strength to do. Tifshoy debai Reish Lakish, then we could answer a shayla Reish Lakish asked, right? Sorid shel menachos does it a clumps, right? So menachos is they mix the flour with oil, right? But sometimes they didn't mix it well enough, so it clumped. So sorid shel menachos minin by rishon v'sheni olay. So is that considered like food or is that considered like liquid? Yeah. So the Gemara should have said, so if that's the case, it would have answered, that was Reish Lakish's shayla. So what do you mean? The chiva of kodesh shouldn't make a difference. It should be as if it had liquid touching it, right?
After kmitz is done?
I think when did the shayla happen? Well, either one. What's the difference?
Let's just get into
Yeah. Right? So he had a shayla, whether these clumps are considered like they're kosher now. What are you? So we would say the chiba of kodshim should have made it kosher to be mekabel tumah. So that teretz is out. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel could go and show it's a para shel zivchei shlamim. It was a para that was for a carbon shlamim. Ve'vira ben nahar, and they carried it through a river. V'shachta, and then they shechted it. V'adayin mashke tefech leh. It was so freshly shechted that there was still water all over it, and that water tefech means it was water that could actually make other things wet. It wasn't just moist, it was actually very wet that if you touched it, it could make something else wet, right? Well, that's tefech hamanas latfiach. So that's tefech, it was wet. So therefore, since it was wet, therefore that made the meat kosher after it got shechted. So it's a very unique case where the basar would become tamei, right? Stamazai, if you shechted an animal and you found a needle in there, it would not make the meat tamei according to this because the meat did not get wet. Here we're talking about a specific case where the animal went through a river before it was shechted. Then it was immediately shechted. Fine.
Why is he happy that it's wet?
I mean, imagine he was happy that it went through the river. Chayra.
It has to be wanted to actually be wet.
Right. I hear. I think he would want, I don't know, I would call it we wanted. Okay, right. The nimtza b'perish are called over. Then we said if it's found in the waste that's inside the animal, then everything is tar. Right? So now, okay, so then why doesn't, if it's found in the waste, so then why doesn't it go make the basar tamei? Okay, so it's talking about very thick perish. So therefore, it's not considered a liquid, and it's considered a solid. So we say oichel can't be matama oichel. He's even talking about soft or liquidy waste. Like we said yesterday, it's a mashka that's decayed, and that can't make something kosher. Tani Tanaka Midar Sheshis. Then we have an interesting case here. Sheretz metamas mashkin. Now we're going back to the pecking order of tumah. So sheretz makes metama mashkin. Mashkin metaman is a kli. Kli metaman is a eichlin. V'eichlin metaman is a mashkin. Right. So it's a four levels here. Right. The sheretz goes and touches liquid and makes a tamei. The mashkin goes and makes a kli tamei. The kli goes and makes the food tamei, and the food goes and metama mashkin, right? V'lamanu shalish tumas b'sheretz, and that's we learn out 3 tumas b'sheretz. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? Hani arbahein? You just said 4 levels, not 3. Guz mashkin dereisha. No, get rid of the mashkin or the reisha. So that's not what happened was that the sheretz touched the kli, it didn't touch the liquid first. So the Gemara says, adarabah, guz mashkin the seifa. Why don't you get rid of the liquid at the end? So the Gemara answers, loy ashka chontana, meaning, okay, we should have asked that. What liquid can't make kalim tamei, right? So, but then we said Rabbi Yehuda changed his mind. That's what the Gemara was thinking, right? So the Gemara says, loy ashka chontana damar mashka metame kli ela Rabbi Yehuda. The only tana we found that said that liquid can make a kli tamei was Rabbi Yehuda v'hadabe, and Rabbi Yehuda changed his mind, like we learned yesterday. So therefore, there is no shita that holds that liquid can make a kli tamei. So therefore, we have to cut it out from this scenario. So that's why it's mashkin, it's sheretz is matama kli, and we take out the mashkin. Fine. V'simonech nezaisa, and the simon for this is for parrots and mo, right? Beer, making beer. The way you make beer is what the order is. You put the barley, Rashi says, into the kli, and then you put the food, and then you put the liquid, right? So that's how you make beer. So that's the order of this whole case too. Yeah, fine. Tan awesome. Then again, remember we had the case yesterday where a sheretz in a earthenware kli has a very unique din, where if the sheretz falls into the kli, then any food that's inside the kli becomes tamei, even if it didn't touch the sheretz. That's a specific din by earthenware, right? Again, earthenware kli, big one. Let's say it's a large, like an oven size, and the sheretz somehow makes its way in there. And then on the other side of the oven is food there. That food is going to become tamei, right? So it's more going to ask exactly which type of tumah. Tanadasam sheretz shenimtza b'tanur. If you have a sheretz that's found in an oven, hapasha b'soichoi shniya, the bread that's in it is a sheni. Right? Because the assumption is the sheretz is an av, right? And then the oven becomes a rishon, and then the oven makes the bread, so that's a sheni. Because the tana becomes a tchila. Remember, tchila means beginning, so it means a rishon. So amrlei ravada barava l'rava v'nechsi l'hai tana command moli tumah dami. Why don't we look at the whole oven as if it's full of tumah? But to have a high pass rishona, and then the pass is a rishon, right? The sheretz is in the oven. The sheretz takes up the whole airspace of the oven. And then it touches the bread directly, right? It doesn't go through the wall of the oven, so therefore the bread should be a rishon. Don't think that the Tanya Yachal you call a kelim tamei. You would think that all kelim that are inside the airspace of this earthenware kli becomes tamei. It says anything that's in the oven will become tamei. The samechle mikala eichel. And then right next to it says all food. Only food becomes tamei from the airspace of a kli cheres. And all kalim don't become tamei from avra kli cheres. And if you say that kalim don't become tamei from the avra kli cheres, that means that we don't look at the entire kli, that it's filled up. So the only way for the bread to become tamei is for the sheretz to be matama the oven, and then the oven goes and there's matama the bread. Fine.
This drush is basically kli ein matama kiyotziva.
A kli is not going to be. Yeah, I get. Yeah.
Unless if you know that already, why would you need the drush?
Well, I don't think the drush is telling it to you. We're just saying that that's a pshat. We're just saying that's a pshat. You want to?
It looks like it.
Yeah. By the way, we got 2 6-packs of beer. Now that we said a mushel from beer, we said a thing of beer. We got 2 sitting right here on the table. Yeah.
What does the drasha mean that oichel mitame me'aver kli cheres then mean? In what's that case? What's the case of oichel mitame me'aver kli cheres?
The food is sitting in the kli cheres, and there's a sheretz in it too. So even though they don't touch, it's still matama the sheretz.
What type of tumah is that?
What type of tumah?
Yeah.
Well, the Gemara is saying it's a sheni.
No, I'm saying, but it's not me'aver kli cheres that it's being mitame. It's being mitame from the kli cheres itself. What does the Gemara mean? What does it mean? So what does it mean? Oichel mitame me'aver kli cheres. Oichel is not being mitame me'aver kli cheres.
It is. Well, it is because
it's being mitame from touching from negia.
Are you saying technically that's not called being tamei?
It's not at all being mitame me'aver kli cheres. It has nothing to do with that.
No, I'll tell you why. The sheretz
because it can't touch on the outside.
The sheretz doesn't have to be touching the kli cheres. The sheretz can be dangling in there.
But it's not really it's not oichel mitame me'aver kli cheres.
It is. It's the
sheretz. I mean, right. It has nothing to do with that. The oichel is being not mitame me'aver. It's being mitame
me'aver kli cheres is the sheretz. So the oichel is mitame me'aver kli cheres.
Right.
But it's really the kli cheres. It has nothing to do with the aver.
You're right. Well, it's the aver. It's just the aver of the sheretz, not the aver of the food. Unless you say if the food is hanging also. What happens if the food is dangling in there?
I don't know.
Maybe that's the same thing.
I don't know. It seems like it's negea betaner. No, it's because the kli is not mali tumah.
Right.
Can't be.
I thought you meant originally.
Yeah.
So the food is dangling.
It's either one. I think it's either one.
Yeah.
It's either one.
Why? Then,
Okay.
but that's not why. Else what?
Why not?
It's not. It's not clean molly.
There's a special din of a kli cheres that things don't have to touch. They could just be hanging out in the air. That's a special
then
din.
you
of
are
kli
saying
cheres.
it's a din in the air.
It is
What's
a din
the
in the
difference
air.
in
Yes.
level of molly tumah or not molly tumah? We're saying it's molly tumah.
There's no difference in that. There's no difference.
So-
well, if
Well,
it's
then
no,
what's the Gemara's
if it's-
having?
if
You
it-
know.
What I mean, because if it goes through the air, then it should go directly to the food. It shouldn't be a shame.
And what's the Gemara's tarets?
The Gemara's Teretz says, no, it doesn't work like that. It goes through the walls of the Kli and then in, even though there's no touching going on. That's, yeah, whatever, I guess. I don't know.
Like that.
I think that's
Speech
would be,
also.
yeah. If you find otherwise, let me know, but that's what I think is the shot. Anyways, okay, so let's see. Rav Chisda, 3 lines down. Rav Chisda, now this is a lot of this is repeats. Rav Chisda, Rami Pischa Umashani. Again, let's go way back 6.5 blot ago, right? Feels like ages ago. But how do we get into this whole sugya? That if you have truma, that's tahor, like bread, that's tahor, and truma, that bread, that's tamei, and you got to burn it before Pesach. Do you have to make 2 separate fires to burn it, or can you burn it all together? So we had said that you convert it all together based on the ages of the Beis Hamikdash. So now the Gemara is asking, and the Gemara already brought this question. Rav Chisda Rami Pischa Pisel Mashani. Rav Chisda asked the steerer from Pesach to Pesach, and he answered it. Mi Amar Rabbi Shua Shtein Ka'achas. Did Rabbi Shua really say that you're allowed to burn both at once? Or Ramin will ask you, Akasha Amar Rabbi Yosi Ena Needed Daimel Raya. The thing that you're trying to learn out, that you literally means that you're trying to judge, is not similar to the proof. Rabbi saying when they said Eidus Almahi Eidu, what did they say Eidus on? Meaning that how they burned things in the Beis Hamikdash. So if it's that in the Beis Hamikdash they burned meat that became tamei with a vlada tumah, which is a shlishi, and they burn it with meat that touched an avatumah, which is a rishon, which means that you're going to be upgrading the shlishi to a sheni because it's touching a rishon, right? As I'm saying this, I'm thinking, how can you possibly follow all this? But okay, I'm trying. Zed tamei, meaning for myself, right? It's a zed tamei for zed tamei. They're both tamei. So what's the big deal to upgrade one tumah from one tumah to another tumah? And what about the oil that became tamei with a tful yom that's also a shlishi, right? Somebody who toivel but needs to wait for the end of the day. That you're lighting it with a ner, with a candle that became tamei from a mace, which is a rishon. So again, you're upgrading the shlishi to a sheni because it's touching a rishon. So possible is that tamei. So one is pasul, one is tamei. So we'd also agree that truma that came tamei from a vlada tumah, which is a shlishi, you're allowed to burn it with something that became tamei from a rishon. But how can you even burn a suffix tumah with the tamei? Maybe Eliyahu is going to come and say it's tar, and now you're burning tahor truma with tamei truma. And we answered, Harab Shimon, Rav Chisda answered, Harab Shimon v'alibud Rabbi Shua, Harab Yosi v'alibud Rabbi Shua. It's a machlokes between Rav Shimon and Rabbi Yosi as to what Rabbi Shua meant. Titania, because we learned in the Rise of Yudal, Shechaliyas b'Shabbos, like we're going to have this year, Bez Hashem. Right, so the 14th that falls out on Shabbos. You burn all the chametz before Shabbos. The sarfin truma tameis tluyas v'tahiras, and then you burn the trumas that are tamei, tluyas that are suffix, they're hanging, with tahiras all together. Divrei Rameir, that's what Rabbi Meir holds. Rabbi Yosi over. Tahor b'fnei atzma, you have to burn the tar by itself. Tluya b'fnei atzma, and the suffix truma you have to burn by itself. Utamei b'fnei atzma, and the tameis by itself. Also, they all have to 3 be burned by themselves. Amar Reb Shimon, Rabbi Shua, ala tahor ala tamei, shein sofrin, right? And there's no machlokes that tahor and tamei you're not allowed to burn. Ala tuliyav ala tahor shesarfin, and on a suffix and tahor you're allowed to burn. Amar nechliku ala tuliyav ala tamei. The machlokes is suffix truma, and that's a suffix whether it's tamei, fel hatamei. That's vadai. Rabbi Eliezer, I'm to sort of zuba atzma. Rabbi Eliezer says you cannot burn suffix with vadai. For Rabbi Shua, I'm shtein ka'achas, you could do both of them, right? So I think where it says, "What do you mean? Masnisin Rabbi Yosi?" But our mission is Rabbi Yosi, right? So Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Meir. Afilu Reb Shimon v'aliba Rabbi Shua the Mekel. Even this is what Rabbi Yosi is saying to Rabbi Meir. Even Reb Shimon, according to Rabbi Shua, who's lenient that he holds you convert it all together. Ki Mekel betluya v'tmei. He was only Mekel with a suffix tamei with vadei tamei. Aval tahor b'tamei loy. But he himself does hold that you can't. Right? Of tar and tamei, not he himself, but tar and tamei you're not allowed to burn together. Fine. Reb Yosi, Reb Chanina, Rami, Truma, Pischa. He asked the steerer from Truma to Pesach, Mashani, and he answered it. Mi Amar Rabbi Shua, Shtein Ka'achas. Did Rabbi Shua really say you can burn both at once? Or Rabbi will ask you a steerer, Chavash Shel Truma. Shenayla Basafik Tumah. If you have a barrel of Truma, that it was born in it a suffix of Tumah. Right? So Rabbi Lezer, Aimer, Im Haisa, Munachas B'Makam Atarfa. If this barrel, that's a suffix whether it became tamei or not, is in a place that it could potentially become tamei. Again, this is a suffix. The barrel is a suffix. If you leave it out in the street, it could maybe vade become tamei. So if it's placed there, put it into someplace hidden so that no vade tumah comes on it. And if it's in an open place, then put it in hidden. Rabbi Shua, meaning, so obviously he's still concerned that something that's a suffix of tamei should have become vade tamei. If it's in a makam hamutzna, a hidden place, he should put it in a bad place, meaning put it in a place that it will become tamei. And if it was hidden and it's a suffix that it's tamei, you galena make it revealed, take it out of there so that it becomes a real tumah. Grama in biyadayim loy, but that's only that you're causing it to maybe come tamei from something tamei touching it. You're not actually actively making it tamei. And here in our Mishnah, we're saying, no, make it tamei. Burn the truma tamei with the truma tahor. Mashani. Is it a svex feka l'chumra? It's not a svex feka.
It's a tumah in a closed place. You just put it in an open place where what?
Yeah. He's not saying that.
Why would it become tamei?
Why would it? Somebody tamei might come along and touch it.
It's a suffix.
Why is that a suffix?
We don't know if it'll come along and be
good, but if he does, then you know what to do with it. If a tamei comes along and touches it, it's a givaldik.
See it.
Yeah, you're hoping somebody comes along and touches it. Good. If it doesn't have it, doesn't happen.
It's still the same suffix, or it's a vchomer.
I don't know what you do if it doesn't touch it. It's a suffix. It's one suffix.
You opened up another suffix.
I don't.
You have a mitzias of a suffix in the makam hamutzna, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a suffix. Now I put it in an open place where it's a suffix. If someone will come, that's an extra suffix.
Okay, but yeah, okay. The oilam's getting. We gotta let them finish the daf. Yeah, okay, good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's tomorrow's daf.
Yeah, umashani. Okay, so we answer. Did I stay in the right place? Harab Shimon, I'll leave it to Rabbi Shua. Harab Yosi, I'll leave it to Rabbi Shua. Fine. The one is Rabbi Shimon according to Rabbi Shua, and one's Rabbi Yosi, I'll leave it to Rabbi Shua. Meaning they're having Machlokes in Rabbi Shua, whether you're allowed to burn it or not. Fine. Whether you're allowed to burn it together or not. Now the next third case, Rabbi Lazar, Rami Truma. He asks the steerer from Truma to Truma, Mashani, and he answers it. Miyam Rabbi Shua, Grama in biyadayim loy. The Rabbi Shua say that you're only allowed to cause it become tamei, but to actively do it not. Or Raminal ask you, steer chavash shel truma shenishbar begas hal yaina. Right, we had this case 4 or 5 blot ago. You have a barrel of truma in the vat, not in the vat, in the wine press, and it got broken in the upper wine press, and the wine is rolling down to the lower section. Chulin tamei, and under it is chulin that's tamei. Again, you have a barrel of regular truma that's tahora, and it's rolling down, and it's gonna fall into a barrel of chulin that's tamei. Now, if you allow that truma to fall into that barrel, nobody could eat it. A kohen can't eat it because it became tamei from the chulin, and a Yisrael can't eat it because there's truma mixed into it, right? So there, in that case, Ma'id Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Eliezer is Ma'id to Rabbi Shua, Shem Yachal Lahatzam Men Revius Betahara Yatzal. If you're able to go run, huh? If you're able to go get a bucket or a cup to catch it, then you should do it. And if you can, let it just fall by itself into the chulin that's tamei, but you shouldn't actively make it tamei. But no, you should try and catch whatever you can in a kli, right? So what's up shot? So you see that he does not mind it becoming tamei. Mishani shim hasam shani. I'm sorry, mishani. We answer shani hasam deika hefsid chulin. No, there the reason why he says that you should try and catch it is because you're going to make a hefsid of chulin, right? You're gonna make the chulin get lost, right? Because it's gonna ruin the chulin. Yeah. So maskala rava mastisa nami you can hefsid reitzim. In our Mishnah too, you're gonna make him lose the wood. If you're gonna make the guy make two different fires, so we said you're gonna make the guy lose his money for extra wood. So Abaya said, for a big hefsid, we care about it. For a small hefsid, we not. So to lose a whole barrel of wine, that's a big loss. To lose some wood, that's not such a big loss.
I feel like we're going over the exact same Gemaras. We went over we did.
Yes, we are.
Why are we doing
exactly.
that? Why is the Gemara do that?
Why you complain? Akiva, at this point, I'll
it's
take
easy.
it, man. Keep
I know,
going.
but I hear you. But like, just leave us alone.
Listen, I guess he wants to go out with a bang. I don't know, but I'm not complaining. Let me tell you, I am not complaining. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure exactly why the Gemara is repeating all this. I know, but it's not. I mean, we already did this.
Yeah, but this okay. Comes out of the sugya. Everything else is suffix.
Yeah. Okay, so right. So we not let you know when we did it a few days ago, I discussed the case that we have nowadays that if somebody's not sure if something's milchiks or fleishiks, so what do? So normally you say it's a suffix the Rabanan, you could be making, but we say no, since it's easy to kasher it. Do we say it's easy to kasher it? Just boil up a pot of hot water and kasher it, or do we say no? It costs money, it costs gas, and all that. So back then it was a machlokes because to get wood and to make a fire and to kasher, and nowadays that's not such a big deal to do it. And then over the last 2 days I got a good couple of shilas of exactly that, suffix this, suffix that. So I'm not saying the mashal again because
You actually said along the lines of keep it up on the windowsill and then put it away by accident, and then it's buffalo.
Right, that was right. That's another example of it. Yeah, yeah, Simon. That's it. Yeah. What? Somebody. Yeah, I think Rabanan. Somebody in the old Shayashav Bachrim's apartments. I think Weingott's. No, somebody came to Rafal Weingott's apartment, and he came in one day and he said, "I need a milchik spoon." He says it's sitting over there on the windowsill. 2 days later, he came back and said, "I need a fleishik spoon." He says, "Over there on the windowsill."
These guys had a dormitory. In our apartments, everything was parav. Everything was parav.
Yeah, well, that's Ma'aser Shahaya right there, the old Shayoshav. There you go. Okay, so weiter. So the Gemara says, "We not tamer the lehefsid meruba chashashu." Okay, now we're into new Gemara, Akiva. And how do we know that for a hefsid meruba we're chayshid, for lehefsid muat loy chashashu, for hefsid muat we're not chayshid? The Tanya chavish shel shemen. Truma, if you have a barrel of oil, that's truma, shenishbara begas el yaina. Now we're to oil. Till now we were discussing wine. Now we're on to oil, and it broke in the upper vat, in the upper press. Chulin tamei. Same case as before, just with oil, and then this chulin tamei in the bottom. Rabbi Lezer's that if you're able to save it pitahara, then you should do it. Let the oil just roll down and let it become tamei on its own. You don't get involved, right? Right? What's the difference between shemen? Not because we're worried about the roy lahadlik. You could do something with the oil, right? So, meaning even if it becomes truma tameya, when you burn truma, you're allowed to get hana. It's going to come up in the next paragraph. But when you're burning truma, you're allowed to benefit from it. So oil, you can benefit from it. So we don't care so much if the truma becomes no good, because even though we can't eat the oil, but at least we can burn it. That's also in Yonat Diyama, right? You can at least use oil to burn it, right? Yayin nami royal azilaf. The Gemara asks, yayin, you should be able to sprinkle it to make it smell good, even if you can't drink it. So then you can say and if you're going to say that smell is nothing, Gershon's certainly going to disagree with that. V'amar Shmuel, we're referring to smoking, yeah. V'amar Shmuel, B'Shem Reb Chia, right? Shaisin milug b'sela. To drink, it would be a lug. A lug is a measurement for a sela. That's a monetary amount. Umazalfin milug b'shtayim. And to sprinkle it, it's for two. So meaning you'd actually should pay more for wine to sprinkle it for the good smell than you should for drinking. So Gemara says, I don't know if it means reichel. I don't know if that's. I don't know. I'm not sure. So Gemara answers, bechadash. It's talking about new wine. So new wine the sprinkling doesn't work. It's good. So make the new wine into old wine. It's gonna come. You're gonna end up, if it's truma wine that's tamei and you're gonna leave it to be aged, somebody's gonna end up drinking it. Shem nami is good. So if you leave the oil that you're gonna use it to burn, that's also somebody's gonna end up using it. No, the rami lebeklimas. No, you put the oil in a disgusting kli, so nobody's gonna end up by mistake taking it to fry their latkes, right? They're only gonna use it to burn. So then yayin nami, right? So you look at some of those oils that they sell from the companies for hadlakas neiros. Ain't nobody gonna use that for frying their right? That stuff is so dark and who knows what. Nobody's confusing that oil. So I guess that's where they get it from this Gemara. So yayin nami rami lebekli mas. So put the wine also in a disgusting kli. Lazil of kaboy lebekli mas rami le. You want it to make for something to smell good, to spray your wine all over to make it smell good, and you're gonna put it into a disgusting kli of adanat. So that's why we're more concerned for the loss of wine than we are for the loss of oil, because there's always something you could do with oil, but there's not necessarily always something you do with wine. Now the Gemara asks on this whole rule, and this that we're chayshish for somebody messing up is a Machlokes tanoim. The Tanya chavis shel yayin shel truma shenitmes chavis of yayin of truma that became tamei. Right, you have a barrel of truma wine that became tamei. B'shamei arm tishba. You should. Well, it's really, you should spill it out. No, you can use it to sprinkle. I'm going to make a pshara between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Right? To be machriya means he's going to make how do you call it?
Compromise.
Yes, compromise. Thank you. Besada tishaveh. When it's in the field, spill it out, because then there's more of a chashash you're going to drink it. Chevel b'bayis tasa. I'm sorry, besada tishaveh chevel. In the field, you should spill out the barrel. But bias tasa zilaf, but in the house you do zilaf, right? So there's no machlokes.
There's no difference,
right?
either.
What do you mean?
I mean, literally pouring it out in the house is zilaf.
Correct, but you're going to keep it, but you're going to hold on to it to sprinkle it. You're not going to just pour it out all over your house. You're going to use it as an aroma thing. Yeah, I could just imagine making an aroma smell of wine all over the house, right? Okay, he could damri, right? Others say, b'chodesh tishavech chevel. If it's new wine, then you should spill it out. But yashin tasa zilaf, in old wine, then you can make zilaf. So Amrullah, so they told him, right? Ein hachra shlishis machras. They told him, just because you want to try and make peace, not peace necessarily, but you want to try and make a compromise. I mean, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, we don't roll like that. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel argue. That's the way it goes. Don't try and make a hachra between them. Right, so Amar Rabbi Yosef Rav Chanina Machlokes shenaflu lepachas mim. Okay, so that's it. So that's what he answered him back. So there's no hachra. So bottom line is both of them are not concerned. But that's what we're trying to say from here is that both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel are not. This doesn't dawn on them that there is a chashash of takola. Right? Fine. So Amar meaning. What do you mean? So why does Beis Shammai say to spill it out? Right? Why does Beis Shammai spill it out then? Why can't? Because there's nothing you can do with it. I guess they just hold you can't use it for a smell, right? Yeah. So that's what you have to say. Fine. So now the last sugya here.
Taisus Taka says it's still takola. Even according to Beis Shammai, it's still gonna be out takola, but you can't be machri. I don't know. He seems to be chalek on Rashi with regards to that, but he says Beis Shammai still holds us out takola.
Well, Taisus, yeah, but
I don't know if Rashi holds like that.
What? I'm saying, so why, according to Rashi, does he have to spill it out according to Beis Shammai? Because there's nothing else to do with it.
I don't know. Taisus doesn't really explain it according to Rashi. He seems to say his own shot.
Right. Okay, very good. So Amar Rabbi Yosef Rav Chanina, Machlokes shenafla lepachas mimeyasa chulin tamei. This the whole Machlokes is if again chulin, right? We know normally kashrus 1 in 60 is batal. Truma it's 1 in 100, meaning if you have let's say 1 ounce of truma, in order for it to become batal, it needs to fall into 100 ounces of chulin. Right, so we're saying the machlokes here shenaflu lepachas mimeyasa chulin tamei, and it fell into less than 100 tzav chulin tamei, and so therefore it's going to ruin the whole thing. Chulin tamei, but if it falls into 100 of chulin tamei, divrei hakol tered b'titma, just let it go and become tamei. And don't make it tamei biyad. Why? Because it's not going to become tamei anyways. Because it's going to be batel. What?
It becomes chulin also at the same time.
Well, whatever it is, it's not going to be us. There's no loss. There's no loss because it's going to be batel. It's going to, well, that one thing is, but that's lost anyways.
Unless you say go save it.
Well, yeah, but you can't. So it was just a shiloh whether you're going to save it and be metama some of it and save some of it, or all right. So if you have a barrel that breaks in the upper gas, chulin tamein, and under it there's 100 of chulin tamein. Ma'adir Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Eliezer agrees to Rabbi Shua. Shem yochel lahatzal mimena revius b'tahara yatzal. That if you're able to save a revius, then yatzal. Vim lav teir v'titma v'ayitmena b'yad. If you could save a little bit, then save it. But if not, then don't be metama b'yad because it's going to all end up being okay anyways because it's going to be batel. So hi Ma'adir Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shua, Ma'adir Rabbi Shua Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Eliezer. It's not Rabbi Eliezer being Ma'adir to Rabbi Shua. It's Rabbi Shua being Ma'adir to Rabbi Eliezer. So Marava, Peretz's favorite Teretz to end the whole sugya, Epuch, right? Okay, so we have a kasha, switch it. There you go, thumbs up, Peretz, right? Rav Huna, Rabbi Shua, Amar, no, La'ilam, Light Epuch, don't switch it. Hacha b'mayaskina b'klisha toichai tahor v'gabai tamei, right? And it ends off with a good confusing sugya where Kalim is a unique thing. Tumah that's the Rabanan has a unique thing that the inside can become tamei and the outside can be tahor, or the outside can be tahor and the inside become tamei. Two different entities, even though it's part of one kli. Talking about where he's catching it in a kli that the inside is tahor and the back is tamei, the outside. Mao the same bendigs or dilma naga gabai betruma. But what might you say that we have to make a gezeira that maybe the back of it is going to touch the truma? Kamashmala, we're not concerned for that, and therefore you are allowed to catch it. I hope this was tolerable, but now we have no excuses to work hard on the next one because it's not tumah and tara for the next while. Okay, so Bez Shabbat to Shabbos, 8:15, 8:30, around that time. We'll text it out. All right.
So we're not doing tomorrow for sure?
We just finished. We're ready on to Shabbos' daf.
We covered 3 daf today. We did Daf and Chafal.
So do we have a Hanukkah shir tomorrow?
If the island wants something before Shabbos, gesund to hate, we can put it out on the chat, whatever it is.
Jesse,
Okay.
what
I
is
think that'd be great.
He wants to get
I
out
took
of doing
tomorrow
help in
off.
the house, Simon, he wants to get out of doing anything in the house. That's all.
No, I took tomorrow off.
No,
There'll be
that's
plenty
for-
of doing in
that's
the
for
house
sure.
before that.
Have you met Jesse? He's not doing anything around the house anyway.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is.
Julie, he's got all girls. He's got all girls and Julie.
Jaco, maybe tomorrow you should just go on Zoom and do a Rebbe Shemanara lighting.
I should do a Rebbe Shemanah lighting. I already did that for the. I already did that in my Bali Tshuva shir. What?
Tell Gershon that I was almost going to stop him and say, just because we started a new block, doesn't mean he gets to restart the clock.
He gets a certain amount of minutes per shir, not per daf.
Son, he opens up his
And
mouth.
Parrots, I specifically came late to this year because of you.
Hey, at least you got
Yeah.
my ribbon.
Paul Peretz.
Yeah.
Peretz. I spoke to Bergman. He said they don't have to quarantine.
Okay, fine. Good.
He said they have a 5% chance. So he says they should wear masks around people, though. That they should do.
I saw them all wearing masks.
Yeah, so that's what
Anyhow,
they should
this
do.
happens tomorrow. Your mother, who's in the house with you now, called me to find out if there's a minion tomorrow.
As far as I know, they're making a minion. I don't think they have a Balkaira, and I don't think they have a time either.
I just texted you also.
Good enough. No, yeah.
I imagine
Make it a
somewhere
minion.
in the area between 9 and 10.
Yeah.
9 and 10.
Good night.
Yeah. All right,
Do
everybody.
they need me or they don't need me?
The stomach not.
My boys are for sure in. I just don't know if I that late.
If you have any sort of life, then yeah, it's a little bit
Right.
of a problem.
Jacob, I'm thinking I may make it back from work to daven with the minion.
I hear. Yeah. All right. Sei gesund.
Oh, you'll let me
I have
know?
a Saliva for you, yeah?
Whether you'll let me know or
I'll let you know.
know.
Gershon, ask Gershon.
Yaakov,
What do you
Yaakov,
Yeah.
can I call you for a second?
What time is it? 10:10. Okay, yeah, you can call me for this. I'll call you in a minute. I'll call
Yaakov,
you.
here's the Shiloh, yeah? It's
Yeah.
Shmuel Yeshiva.
Yeah.
Where were they supposed to light? They
you
knew
called
they
me,
were all
man.
coming home tonight. They were in Yeshiva today.
It's a shiloh.
So they got
They
Mazanis,
lit in
they ordered
Yeshiva,
them
they did.
donuts, and then they, can you lower that, please?
Did
Hey,
they
so
lie in
Yaakov, don't you
yeshiva?
always say where they sleep is the Iker more than anything else?
Yeah, but Lamaisa, that's their mukum. And yeshiva is their mukum. Till they leave, it's their mukum.
Yeah, but it's your
but
mukum,
doesn't
but you know you're
Hanukkah start
leaving.
at night?
What?
Doesn't Hanukkah start at night? The mukum goes based on what? On where
The
they are
day,
the day
that day.
Lemafreya or
Yeah.
the day further?
Listen, if he wants to be frum, he should light a menorah now without a bracha. If he wants to be frum.
That's what I told him. He said, no, I'm Aret's father. No, he doesn't count.
Listen, Peretz. He may have an Amorit's father and Amorit's uncle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a steer. It's genetic.
Well,
Mommy didn't
Abba's
hear
not
that,
on,
did she?
right? Where's Abba? Abba's not on. He wasn't talking about us.
Is that recorded?
I don't know.
Is this still being recorded,
Brock, I
Terrence?
think it is.
Yeah, but what does that say about him then?
Right. Well, that's why he's in the yeshiva out of town. He only comes home every 2 months.
Tiago, you got a text from guys about making a siyum?
In Muncie?
Yeah.
A bunch
That's
of scammers. I never.
Yep, that's Shmuel's roommates, whatever.
My gosh, I never heard from bigger scammers in my life. Those guys should be bopped on the head.
That's what I said.
I gotta hear.
They solicited a Gvir to sponsor a siyum. And the guy said $500. He said, no problem. $500. Then they said, okay, now we got to make a
But the
siyum.
way, no, but that's not what it was. The way I understood it, they painted it that, oh, a guy in our yeshiva is making a siyum and he needs somebody to sponsor the siyum.
Oh, yeah,
Like-
whatever. That's how I heard it. Yeah, dude.
That's a bigger scam, the way it was
Yeah, of
texted to
course.
me.
And then they got the money. They go.
Then I said,
"Ah,
what are they making a siyum on?
Make a siyum on Mishnayos.
A Masechta Mishnayos.
Yeah. The Shiva book.
Masechta Mishnayos.
Yeah.
Man, a bunch of crooks.
Where's Rabanan? Rabanan's
Anyways.
not on?
Nope.
Can he take his money back?
Of course, he can get his money back.
I would think it was taken Shaloika did. Yeah. My gosh, let me tell you. Watch out. Akiva, if anybody solicits you from guys who make a siyum, watch out.
I'm done with soliciting in
If I
general.
heard them, Akiva.
If I heard them on Mishnayos, they wouldn't know it. They wouldn't know the
Yaakov said
Mishnayos.
no, so they had to make a real siyum.
Moscow.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's not a real siyum.
Lamaisa Yaakov, they actually made it. They actually learned and made the siyum.
Oh yeah.
Well, then when you told them that,
Okay, but they still.
It still was taking. It was still taking almost like a mekach tais. It was presented.
That's what I said. Isn't that what I said?
I told them that. I told them that.
It was Mecca place.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I gotta hang up.
I pray
All righty. You too,
Peace out,
everybody.
everybody. And meeting for